Greetings, folks. What you're looking at right now is a Dell Latitude XPI. This is a P133 ST, and I was very excited to have this machine in my collection, thinking that I had finally found a long-lost computer of my youth. And while that's true, as it turns out, there's more than meets the eye here, because the more I looked at this machine and its configuration, the more I realized this was not the machine. I have been lying to everybody all along. Whoops. Now, again, let's be fair here. This machine, or at least the model, the Dell Latitude XPI in general, represents my first real experience assembling computers out of parts, in particular assembling laptops out of parts, because I had several of these. And I built 2 units that were functional. One of them was very definitely a Dell Latitude XPI P133 ST, because I wouldn't remember that model number if it weren't for that. But it was not the machine that I used on a regular basis. I had it, it existed, but it was not the machine that I had used as my primary machine. How did I come to this realization? Well, there's a couple of different reasons, some certainly nerdier than others. Let's go ahead and power it on, which is working despite the power supply's best efforts, which we might get into. Check that out. Magic Graph NM2070 48K SVGA BIOS. Copyright NeoMagic. We're now booting into Windows 95. But that NeoMagic video chipset was kind of odd because, hey, guess what? My machine had Cirrus Logic Video, the one that I use on a regular basis. I vividly remember Cirrus Logic Video. At the time, I figured it was just when I made the video of this, I think I might have even mentioned it in that video, that I thought it was just a CTO option. And maybe it was. You just heard audio there. My machine that I use on a regular basis did not have sound hardware. And as I remember it, the P133 ST that I had also did not have working sound. But I believe that might have been because the speaker was no good. But again, I figured, oh, this is just a CTO option. You know, maybe it could be ordered without that, because it certainly looks like you could delete that option. I mean, just take a look at it. What really drove home the point was 2 things. Number one, the display bezel is smaller than I remember, because I remember there being stickers up here in the corner. This one doesn't have those. Now, it could have had those stickers removed. That's always a possibility. But I remember the display being smaller. The other thing that I remember is it had a very different floppy drive setup. The button was a larger rectangle right here. The other machine, I believe, that I had also did not have these. Right here. So like I said, folks, I've been lying to everybody all along and lying to myself. And that even though this is a very nice computer, and I had one, and I'm very happy to have this one, it is not what I was looking for. No, 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 no. It was not what I was looking for at all. In fact, the real reason for making this video, obviously, is that I have finally found what I was looking for. This machine is in pretty good condition. I mean, it's not perfect or anything like that. The power supply, if you're wondering, is a Dell PA1 model power supply. And unfortunately, these seem to be very unreliable. In fact, I think I bought a lot of like 6 or 7 of these, and this is the only one out of that lot that still works. It's really kind of too bad. You cannot use the later adapters, you know, the PA6 and such like. They will not fit the pattern on this. But like I said, this isn't the machine I was looking for. The machine I was looking for is actually this right here. Looks a little different, eh? For the most part, it looks the same. No real difference there. Looks the same from the top. But as mentioned, there's no little things here to help lift up the palm rest. There's the floppy drive eject. No provisions for audio. There's the battery. And, as mentioned, it's got a smaller display. This is still not what I was looking for. And I'll tell you why it's not quite what I was looking for, but I have another one sitting out in the garage right now that needs some help, and I don't know if I can actually give it the help that it needs, so this might be the closest I'll ever come to that machine. Hard drive is right here, and in the case of this, I'm actually kind of shocked. It's got quite a small drive in it. First of all, it's not an IBM drive, which I thought was kind of strange. It's a Seagate Marathon, model ST9420AG, which means it's a 420 megabyte hard drive. It's about half of the size of the drive that I had in mine back in the day. So I wonder, I still have one of the hard drives. In fact, I think I have the one out of the P7, or the whatever it was that I had before. P75, P60, P90, I don't actually remember. I'm going to need two hands to put that back into place. Again, taking a look back here, it's the same. It's no real difference. Same port, same everything else. Same flimsy doors. But the difference, like I said, is just in the overall chassis design and the processor. I know of at least two different models of this. I know there was one with a P75, and there was the P90, which is what this one is. See, it's a Dell Latitude XPI P90D. See there, 18.5 volt input with that weird connector. I kind of wonder about this rubber foot here, if this is starting to get like sticky rubber feet syndrome. It looks like it might be, and it looks like that one's starting to migrate. I may have to pull those off and put something else in its place, but not for right now. RAM is actually underneath this door here. It does have integrated memory, but you could add RAM if you wanted to. And you see it says, this is what it says that it is, 3.2G HDD, which is wrong. That is a 420 megabyte drive. Which also kind of makes me wonder if that is the original drive that was in here, or if I just put that in there for convenience sake. I'm not sure. Because I remember having a Seagate drive in my Zenith Z-Note Flex, or one of the two Zenith Z-Note Flex machines. I ended up getting rid of it, and I kept the hard drive, so I wonder if maybe that's the drive from that. I don't think I've had this for that long, though. I don't know. I don't remember having this for that long. Anyway, there's your difference. The other difference with this, you can see it says P90D. This is not a TFT display. This is a dual scan passive matrix screen. And I believe they sold these in three different models. The S, the D, and the T. D, of course, dual scan. S for single scan, which would have been the cheapest display option and would have really looked like crap. And T, of course, for TFT. Like I said, I have one of these. I believe it's even also a P90 that's sitting out in my garage with a TFT screen, but the display does not work, and neither do any of the indicators. So there's a problem with the ribbon that I need to figure out on that one, and I don't know that I'm going to, because I tried reseating it on the board side, and that didn't work. And I remember from experience that taking these screen assemblies apart is definitely a pain. But otherwise, you can see, same trackball, same size trackball, same keyboard. It's a very good quality keyboard, although it's a little bit flexible. So, not the greatest keyboard, but certainly a darn sight better than anything they're putting in laptops these days. Same set of indicators. For the longest time, I could never actually figure out what this meant right here. I believe that this refers to the PCMCIA card slot. If you were to install a little hard drive in the PCMCIA slots, like a little, sort of like an SSD, but not really, like flash memory card, that's what that would have been for. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this set up. I'll move that one out of the way. And we'll get this one set up, and we'll see what it does. I have never really powered this thing on or experimented with it. Should be very interesting to see. I also have to see if I still have my original hard drive out of my machine, and I might have to try that in here and see what happens. When I plugged it in, interesting thing is it looks like it's trying to charge its battery. I don't know if that's going to go well, but I'm kind of curious now what chemistry the battery is. So let me see if I can do this. Oh, look at that. I'll be damned. There's a lithium-ion battery. It's probably completely hosed, though. I can't imagine that that works. This right here would be a battery gauge. So if the battery was working, you should see an indication. Like I said, I'm kind of a little surprised it's trying to charge that. I don't know how well that's going to go, but it'd be interesting to see if it does anything. Let's power it on. Right away, Phoenix ROM BIOS. And yep, that's exactly what I thought. The other interesting thing about it that I forgot to mention, the post beep is different across the two of them. It's a higher pitch on these older machines. And you can see, this actually isn't too bad of a screen for a passive matrix display, but the video is inverse from normal black text on a white background. If you look very carefully, I thought this was a dual scan, but there should be a line in the middle of the screen denoting the two halves of the display, because what dual scan means is that it had two different display processors that were in charge of half of the display. And that was a way to get refresh times on a passive matrix display down. Basically make it faster to refresh. Go ahead and set up here. See, it's a color display. We've gone back to 1995. So, close to a good time, but not quite there. Had to go a couple months into April of 1996 before a really good thing would have happened. So, for whatever little good it's going to do, I'll go ahead and I'll set it. It's 7/16. Today being the 16th of September. Okay, how do you do this? Is it page up? Or do I have to do it this way? Okay, you do it that way. Is this Y2K compliant? I believe it is. But how high up does it go? Well, it goes up high enough, as you can see there. 420 megabyte internal hard drive. Oh, what was that all about? Oh, well, now we're starting Windows 95. Okay. That's weird. I was in the middle of setting things, and it just went straight into Windows. I don't remember that ever being a problem. I wonder if it's actually going to do anything. I don't see any activity coming out of the machine. Oh, here we go. I do remember it being kind of slow. much more sluggish than the P133 ST was. And I don't know if that's a processor thing or if that's just an architecture thing, I don't know. Could also be this older, slower hard drive. Again, who knows? I think I have my original hard drive. Of course, it's a wonder if it would still actually function. Okay, here we go. Oh god, Novell NetWare. But again, you'll notice the complete absence of any sound whatsoever. I didn't see a Cirrus Logic video chipset sign-on, though. Which I very distinctly remember. Because I wonder if you could see it. Oh yeah, it's definitely visible. You can see it right there. There's the dividing line. And it looks like there is an alternative display cursor showing up here. Again, this is what people did back in the day to get around the fact that even these dual scans had low refresh rates. So it was very easy. In fact, you can really kind of see it now. It's very easy to lose your mouse cursor. That was a way around that. So I don't for a moment believe that this thing is actually charging its battery. Windows suggests that it's not. 0 minutes remaining. It's got this battery gauge software. That doesn't do anything. Wonder if it's off the screen because somebody was using this with an external monitor, or I don't know. MindSpring 4.0, that almost looks like a piece of Apple Newton software. Go ahead and hit the right-click menu here. Rather interestingly, it's not all of the icons that have changed, but you can see this is Windows 95A with the Internet Explorer shell installed on it. Registered to whoever that is. I don't know who that would happen to be. Type 55 of the hard drive, but yeah, Cirrus Logic Video. It doesn't say what it is, but alright. So we were looking at Cirrus Logic Video when I left off. Standard controllers, IDE/ESDI, that's weird. I don't think I've ever seen those two lumped together like that. Well, maybe that's normal, and it's just been so long since I paid attention to it. Unknown monitor, PS2 mouse, so this is hooked up with PS2, which is good. That's the way it should be done. Probably same thing with the keyboard. Maybe it's just using a generic driver. Dial-up adapter, which this doesn't have installed. PCIC, so not card bus, I believe. That's an important distinction that a lot of people don't get, or certainly don't get right, but some don't even get it at all. A couple of standard ports, the serial port and the parallel port, which is configured in ECP mode, which is good. You never know what you're going to be doing with a parallel port. And notice, no audio devices whatsoever. A couple different hardware profiles you could have here. Docked or undocked, because obviously this would support a docking station, and back in the day, I actually had a docking station for this, or, well, it would have been a port replicator. That might honestly be quite desirable in this day and age, because it had a different power supply connector on it that was a standard barrel type. It would have been very easy to find a power supply for that, but something like this you'd need the proprietary power supply for. Performance. We are configured for optimal performance. And what that means is we're not running any MS-DOS or real mode drivers. 20 megabytes of memory. So I believe that this would have had 4 megabytes soldered to the system board, and it's got a 16 megabyte RAM upgrade, or maybe it's an 8 and an 8. 2 chips for 16 megabytes total. That's probably the more likely configuration for something this old. Everything is 32-bit. No disk compression or anything like that. which would have been still a big deal. Even something like this, 420 megabytes. You know, Windows 95. I remember Windows 95 on a 120 megabyte hard drive. That was not an experience that I would bestow on anyone. It's really just not a whole lot of space left over, and you really had to slim down the installation, but it could be done. As far as I remember, you could still do that without employing drive compression, but you just had to install basically nothing. And you didn't end up with a whole lot of space left over. Speaking of space left over, it looks like this was actually updated from a DOS 6.22 installation at some point, just based on that. We take a look here. Yeah, not a whole lot of free space on that drive. Oh god. Norton antivirus? I wonder what version that is. I don't suppose I want to know. Yeah, look at that. Look at all that used space. That's all documents, more than likely. Or maybe some programs. Holy crap. Yeah, there's a lot of junk on this hard drive. Man. A lot of junk on this hard drive. What do we got for programs? I don't believe this is the original Dell installation. Work order system? What's that? Oh. Dial-up networking. The network name is either not found on the running network or is incorrect. Do you want to connect by using dial-up networking instead? Well, obviously this had a network card in it at one point. I don't know what this is. It'd be kind of interesting to see. Okay, that's fine. What other programs are on here? Let's see. BJC70 Visual Guide. That would have been for a Canon printer. A couple of Dell things. So maybe this is the original installation. Oh wow, look at that. Program Disk Maker. I may want to use that. That might be helpful. So maybe this is the original hard drive. I find it kind of amazing that a Windows 95 era Pentium 90 has only got a 420 megabyte hard drive in it. Expert software. Crosswords and more. Oh, digital equipment. LAN Workplace Pro. Kind of curious about that. Oh, for Pete's sake. Guess I'll always be curious about it because it doesn't work anymore. It's on some network share that this obviously can't talk to. Logitech SenseWare. Main. Huh. That's a Windows 3.1-ism. I don't think this would have had 3.1 on it originally. We have Cursorm and fee-based support. Let's see if either of those do anything. WordPad. That's an interesting thing to open. NetRead. That's a Windows Write file. Oh yeah, look at that. This document contains important information about using the network-related features of Windows for workgroups on your Dell computer. Yeah, Windows 3.11. In the United States, dial this number for technical assistance. You'll be charged $30. Of course, if you're in Canada like I am, you'd be charged $49. Honestly, with the exchange rate, probably not that bad of a deal. Obviously, whatever that came from probably doesn't exist anymore. What's this? Cursorm. Aha, Cursorama. That's how it's doing these alternative cursors here. Oh man, I remember a time when software didn't take itself seriously like that. I'm gonna go ahead and set that back where it was. Yeah. Man. Oh, wow. I remember a time when this was normal. Oh, I'll just change it back. When that was a thing. It's got PowerPoint. Are they separate versions? Does this even still work? Or is that gone because they... Yeah, it's probably gone because they ran out of space on the drive. To be honest with you. Excel is still here, though. At least it looks like it's still here. Version 5.0. And we've just figured out what MMWD stands for. So there you go. I have no idea where that is, but there you have it. Why are there so many sheets in that document? I'm used to seeing 3. 16? That's a little weird. Anyway. What else we got? So we got Excel, Microsoft Project, Microsoft Sports! Is that a game of some kind? Yeah, golf. What is this MindSpring? Okay, I'm greatly curious. MindSpring 4.0. Oh, well, there's somebody's information. MindSpring Internet Software. Well, it's not at all what I thought it was. I should recognize some of this crap, you know? It was popular when I was getting into computers, but most of it really predates my interest in the internet and any kind of internet-connected anything, because I really didn't start getting connected to the internet until 2007, 2008. And by then, a lot of this other stuff just simply wasn't a thing anymore. But I remember people talking about it. I definitely remember AOL Instant Messenger and things like that. AOL in general. More mouse software, Netcom. Yeah, this is probably something that I should recognize just off the top of my head, but I'll be honest with you, I don't. Network garbage, there's Norton Virus, weird network garbage. Apparently it's got WordPerfect Office on it. Of course, that's going to be a pain to open because by the time you get over there to that, it disappears. Is this still on here? Or did they get rid of that too? Apparently there were a lot of things that were stored on a server. But yeah, that's gone too. I guess that was their way of making more space on the computer. Because like I said, 420 megabytes really just is not enough. Internet Explorer 5. Really a terrible browser. Although by the IE5 days, they had gotten rid of some of the stupidity, but really, IE has just been a piece of crap ever since version 3. Provided by MindSpring, so ISP, and taking forever to load, because it's not going to work anyway. Because obviously there's no network on the machine. Is there anything good in the history? IE is probably too much for this machine. Or is that empty? Well, that looks empty. You can really see the dual scan nature of this screen. Look at the interference pattern on that. Do you know, I'm poo-pooing the display and poo-pooing the idea of a passive matrix display. Buying a TFT display in a laptop at this time period was frightfully expensive. So a way to get the cost down was to use one of these much cheaper passive matrix screens. How about the favorites? Is there anything in the favorites? Oh, yep. Earn free access. Yeah, it's all basically MindSpring stuff, so ISP related. I think I've done enough real looking at the machine. I think we've pretty much got a good idea for what this thing does. Well, the one interesting thing I would like to do, I do want to get out my hard drive if I still have it. Get it out, put it in this machine, and see if it works. I'm greatly curious. Well, unfortunately, that is where the video ends, because I can't find the drive. So that's a little bit of a shame, because I thought it was in my box of hard drives. But it is definitely not in there. And I have no idea where else it would happen to be at this particular point in time. I'm hoping it didn't fall behind my desk or something, because I know I had a stack of drives sitting on top of that network switch for a little while, just to keep it in place. And it's fallen a couple of times as well, so I don't know. If it was on there, it probably doesn't work anymore, but, yeah. What's probably going to happen with this in a future video, what might be neat to do with this, is to come in here, and I don't even know if this is actually on the system anymore. But it looks like it probably is, because there is an icon for it. Oh, nope, it's gone. Again, probably a casualty of the fact that there's no disk space on the hard drive. It looks like at one point they were, and I guess they were deleted because, well, there's no space on the hard drive. So that's kind of a bust. Might be interesting to see if there's a Dell Windows 95 copy out there. But it does mean I'll probably have to get together some information about the system hardware, like what kind of drivers it would actually happen to need, particularly for the video. I don't think anything else really is anything more than just generic. What's the screen resolution on this? I'm kind of curious. Yeah, this is definitely still running, or it's still got all of the stuff. In fact, those are from Windows. Are those from Windows 3.0? No, I don't think they are. A bunch of Dell logo stuff. Ew. Nothing. What's this? This is someone's own desktop background. Why am I messing around with this? No, I believe that this is, or would have been, from, Windows 3.1. It just happens to have the Windows. It was running with 3.1 and then had 95 installed over top of it. They'll even have their own screensaver, apparently. I'll have to save that. Kind of interesting. Screen resolution. Oh, it's only running 640 by 480. How high can we go? Ooh. So high color is only supported at 800 by 600, or sorry, 640 by 480. If you go to 800 by 600, which I assume is the max res of the panel, maybe we could try that and see what happens. I don't want to specify a monitor type. We gotta reboot. We'll give that a try. See if I just completely hosed it. I think it's doing a quick restart. Yes, it is definitely doing a quick restart. There's a trick to doing that. I think if you hold down the Shift key while you're going to reboot the system, it will do this quick restart, which doesn't completely reboot the entire computer. Basically, it would be roughly equivalent to closing Windows out to DOS and then reloading from DOS. And it does save a little bit of time. I wonder if that did anything. It almost looks like it didn't. It looks like it might still be running at 640 by 480. So maybe the wrong video driver is loaded or something. I have no idea. But folks, this video is getting quite long. I didn't really intend on having a video quite this long about this machine, but it is nice. Yeah, I thought so. So it'll take some work. Set it back to high color, which will go back to that, and then we're going to reboot again. Go through all of that. So what's going to happen with the machine at some point, look at that, it's in a different console text mode. So it did at least manage that. But this is probably going to get Windows 95 OEM, or maybe not OEM, but certainly pre-OSR2 reloaded on it, because I think that OSR2 is a pile of crap. I really don't like it because, again, I don't like the idea of an Internet Explorer shell. I don't think it's necessary. Let's see if it'll actually load again. Or if I just completely broke it. Well, it's not loading, that's for sure. Certainly it could do with a lot of TSRs no longer being installed, but I'll have to dump the contents of the hard drive at some point. That's certainly likely going to happen. What it happens with, I don't know, probably something like LapLink over a parallel connection. Or who knows. I can tell you one thing, I don't know if I mentioned it, but it is definitely not charging the battery, which is to be expected. So if I unplug it, it's just going to shut down. That's a lithium-ion battery, so it may be possible to rebuild that. I don't know, and I don't know that I care. The reason why I say that is because even back in like 2003, 2004, the battery in the machine that I had never worked. That might not be totally true. I think it might have worked for like 5 minutes, but, you know, I never really was far away from a power adapter anyway. And anything that I'd ever do with a vintage laptop like this is probably just going to be with it plugged in anyway, because, quite frankly, I just don't care. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it down, and we'll close out the video. Stay tuned, we will do something with this at some point. But until then, I'd like to thank you for watching. And if you have any comments, certainly do feel free to leave them down below.